Welcome to Paranormal Heart Podcast with host Kat Ward. Welcome to Paranormal Heart Podcast, Paranormal Talk with Heart and Soul. Tonight's segment is pre-recorded, streaming on United Public Radio Network, 107.7 New Orleans, 105.3 the Gulf Coast, YouTube, and any place you find your favorite podcast. I'm your host, Kat Ward. Thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight. Tonight, my Haunted Hearts, my guest is Brent Michael Phillips, a former MIT researcher whose work sits at the crossroads of physics and healing. Blending rigorous scientific training with transformative therapeutic practice, Brent explores how principles of physics may unlock new understanding of healing, consciousness, and human potential, where MIT truly meets miracles. I give you Brent. Hello.
Oh, this is great. Excited to be here.
I'm excited you're here. Thank you for being on the show. So this is intriguing. So you trained in physics at MIT. What led you from that world into healing work?
Well, it was one of those things where if you had told me when I was a boy or a young man that I'd end up being a healer and a spiritual teacher, I would have laughed you out of the room. Wasn't even on my radar.
Yeah.
Because, long story short, I grew up being kind of your typical nerd. I loved science. I loved Star Wars and Lord of the Rings and Dungeons and Dragons and all that stuff, right?
Me too.
And the one thing that was I really loved was video games. And so when I went to college, it was a pretty easy choice. I decided I wanted to be a video game developer. And so I went to MIT, but then I discovered the internet. And this was, of course, long before most people had heard of it. I got there in the 80s.
Yeah.
And it just totally blew me away. In particular, it gave me a vision for a whole new kind of game, an online game, which, of course, was years in the future at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But long story short, I got my bachelor's degree at MIT, continued on to graduate school, got my master's degree, and I was working towards my PhD, and I had become one of the world's leading experts in internet protocol and internet networking. In fact, my master's thesis was all about sending real-time audio video streams over TCP/IP, which is internet protocol. And so when the internet boom hit, I figured, hey, this is my gold rush. And so long story short, I left MIT. I moved to California and partnered with my lifelong best friend, and we formed two companies. The first was to make websites, which was totally cool. And we had a lot of success at first. It's crazy in retrospect that the very first website I ever developed in my entire life was the website for the launch of the Sony PlayStation.
Really?
Yep, that was my very first website, other than like Brent's homepage, right?
Yeah.
And that was in the summer of 1995. So we went on, we did the first website for Disneyland. We worked with Nissan Motors. We had over a half dozen Fortune 500 companies we were building websites for. But websites were cool, but that wasn't my passion. My passion was games. And so we formed a second company to make a brand new kind of online game that no one even thought was possible. And today we call them MOGs, or massively multiplayer online role-playing games.
Okay. Yep.
Like World of Warcraft. But I had a vision to do it years before them. And we pulled it off. We built the game. And the first public beta was actually in January of 1997.
Wow.
Years ahead of EverQuest and World of Warcraft and all the big names. But there was a big problem, which was in order to bootstrap two companies right at the heart of the internet boom, I was pushing myself to superhuman levels. It was, no exaggeration, 100-hour work weeks back to back. There were no weekends, there were no holidays, no vacations, no breaks. It was pretty much all I did was I ate, I slept, I worked, and I did a little martial arts twice a week. That was it. And after about 3 years of this, my body started to break down. My body couldn't handle that kind of workload. And at first, I wasn't too worried about it. I figured, you know what, I'll go to doctors and they'll give me something and I'll feel better, right? Well, long story short, I spent 3 years with doctors and physical therapy and conventional treatments. And it wasn't just that I didn't get better. I just kept getting worse. And it was so frustrating. But my business partner and best friend hung in there, at least at first. And I was so excited when I finally got in to see the head doctor at the Curling Job Clinic, which is one of the top physical therapy clinics in the world. And I thought, wow, this guy will know how to fix me, right? And I went in to see him, and he had all my medical records there. And he just looked and said, well, I'm sorry, son, but there's nothing I or any doctor can do here. You're always going to have pain and you'll never be able to work again. And I was devastated. I
can
didn't expect that.
imagine. Yeah.
I thought he'd have a surgery or a protocol or something, right?
Mhm.
I mean, maybe he sent me for acupuncture. I was open to whatever.
Mhm.
But instead, the last thing he asked me before I left his office, he said, son, do you got somewhere you can go where someone can take care of you until you die?
Oh, that's a horrible thing to
And
say.
I was in my 20s.
Oh.
I was still in my 20s.
Mhm.
And so that was devastating because I had developed really crippling repetitive stress injuries from overwork.
Mhm.
And I was in constant pain. I mean, there were some days I was in so much pain, it was difficult just to eat food. And so I ended up moving in with my parents because I needed care like a sick
Mhm.
elderly person. I
Hmm.
needed someone to help me put on my clothes and cut my food and just do basic things. So you can imagine what that's like for a young man in his 20s who thought he was going to be go rule the world or something, right?
Mhm.
And but I figured when I told my best friend and business partner, I expected him to be all, "Hey, Brent, hang in there. We'll get through this together."
Mhm.
But no, his reaction was, he's like, "Well, if you can't work, you have no place here." So he fired me from my positions at the companies I had founded that were built up with my talent, my blood, my sweat, my tears.
Mhm.
And I found out a little bit later, it's because he was secretly dating the woman I was crazy in love with.
Ah, you must have felt like your world was just crashing in on you.
It was, I had a therapist tell me it was one of the worst things that can happen to someone.
Mhm.
It was a complete annihilation of my identity, which is like two or three steps beyond a normal traumatic experience.
Mhm.
And, you know, in the new age world, we call it the dark night of the soul, where everything goes wrong all at once.
Mhm.
So one, I had lost my companies. That was devastating. The web company sold for millions of dollars behind my back. And that was horrifying just on its own.
Mhm.
I had also lost my career. You know, never again could I be a software engineer. I was too
Mhm.
damaged. You know, no one's going to hire someone that can only work 10 hours a week. Good luck with that.
Mhm.
Uh, I had also lost really my passion, which was making video games. And I lost the woman I was in love with. And I was sentenced to a lifetime of soul crushing chronic pain. And the one that most people forget about, I also lost my lifelong best friend.
Mhm.
It was pretty much a total wipeout on all levels. And it was, I was very lucky though that I didn't stay down in the dumps for too long
Mhm.
because I had another friend of mine turn me on to positive thinking. And so I was like, okay, maybe this will help. And they said, hey, Brent, when life's got you down, that's when we really need positive thinking.
Mhm.
And so, long story short, I became a sort of positive thinking, uh, would be the right word. Just say I was totally gung ho for positive thinking for about 6 months.
Mhm.
You know, I went to seminars and I danced on the stage and I learned how to make a vision board and I put power words on my wall and I was saying my mantras exactly 108 times every day because someone had told me if you do that, it has to come true, right?
Mhm.
But nothing changed. Except, of course, I was spending a bunch of money on positive thinking, right?
Yeah.
So, having nothing but a big credit card debt from that, I gave up on positive thinking. And of course, today we call it the law of attraction, but it's all the same stuff, right?
Mhm.
Think and Grow Rich and The Secret. And so I went back to being depressed and unhappy, miserable. But I was again very lucky. I had a friend of mine turn me on to alternative medicine. And that actually made a lot of sense. They said, hey, Brent, the doctors aren't perfect. There's a lot of things they don't know how to handle.
Mhm.
And for some people, alternative medicine is a better fit. And so, long story short, I spent the next 5 years living with my parents, running up a gigantic credit card debt, trying all this alternative medicine,
Mhm.
right? And so I went to acupuncturist, I did herbs, I did cleanses, I did special diets, I mean, you name it. I saw osteopaths and chiropractors and Reiki people and pranic people, and I did, postural rehabilitation and ergonomics, and I had magnets and chi machines and electric stims and all these things, right?
Mhm.
And it was so frustrating because every time I found some new thing, whether it was a doctor or a life coach or a therapist or a healer, they would convince me this is the big thing that's going to help you, right? And I go spend a bunch of time and a bunch of money. And at some point I go, this isn't helping me at all. I'm
Mhm.
still getting worse. And they would just shrug their shoulders and go, sorry, try something else, right?
Mhm.
And so after 5 years of this, I was kind of into the end of my rope. And so I agreed to have an experimental surgery that a doctor thought could help reduce my pain, and said, there's a possibility you might even be able to work again. And so I was like, absolutely. I
Mhm.
felt I had nothing to lose,
Yeah.
right? So I signed up for the trial. I was accepted and I had the surgery. And you can probably guess, if the surgery had cured me of all my pain, I would have gone back to making video games and lived happily
Mhm.
ever after. And I certainly wouldn't be on the show tonight, would I?
No.
No, instead, what happened was I woke up and my right arm was paralyzed at the elbow. I couldn't move my arm at all. And that was kind of, in a sense, rock bottom.
Mhm.
And I spent almost 6 months trying all these different remedies for my arm. I had a manipulation under anesthesia. I had a second surgery. Went to crazy amounts of physical therapy. People tried manipulations under local and general anesthetic.
Mhm.
They had me doing 3-hour sessions in a CPM machine, which is a hydraulic monster that forcefully tries to bend your limbs when you can't move it on your own.
Oh, I've never heard of that machine.
Yeah,
Wow.
they're a lot of fun. Let me tell you, it was a lot of fun. 3 hours a day.
Oh.
And I was sleeping in what are called dynasplints. So imagine you can't move your arm and you're sleeping in a splint that's constantly putting pressure on it.
Mhm.
So I could barely sleep because it hurt like hell.
Yeah.
And then I had to take sleeping pills. And then I could hardly get up in the morning. I mean, it was just a nightmare.
Yep.
The doctors called it the nightmare of drugs and pain,
Mhm.
which for most people will last a few days to a week after surgery. For me, it was almost 6 months.
Hmm.
And just when I thought that there wasn't any hope left, that's when this person showed up in my life that I had actually known her casually. She was an old friend of my Aunt Lauren, and her name was Terry. And long story short, Terry had been a very successful financial professional. And she had a great career ahead of her. But she got sick from black mold exposure,
Oh.
and it almost killed her.
Mhm.
And what she said was she spent a couple years trying all these things and then found this process of energy healing that actually helped her, and she felt better, and she credits it with saving her life.
Hmm.
And I still remember seeing an email she sent me when my arm was paralyzed, and she said, hey everyone, I want you to know I'm no longer working in finance. I've decided to open my own business, and I'm now a professional energy healer. And I kind of laughed. I'm like, wow, this
Yeah.
lady's really gone off the deep end of the new age pool, right? And my Aunt Lauren had called me about once a month. She'd be like, Brent, how you doing? I'm like, terrible. Is your arm better? No. Have you called Terry? No. Why not? It won't work.
Hmm.
And so this went on for, again, about 6 months. And then eventually she said, Brent, what's it going to take? And I said, well, and she offered to pay for the session. And I was like, okay, pay for the session and take me out to dinner at Drago, which was this fancy Italian restaurant, right?
Mhm.
Some people said best restaurant in the city. And Lauren was like, you know what? If that's what it takes, okay. I was like, all right, I'm down, right?
Yeah.
And I had done some energy healing before, but it was just Reiki healing and pranic healing where people put their hands on you. And honestly, I didn't felt it helped me. I just got bored.
Hmm.
I'm sitting there while they're doing their thing, thinking, are we done yet? I want to go home, right?
Yeah.
Nothing against those styles of healing. It helps a lot of people.
Mhm.
It just didn't do anything for me. And so I remember I went to see Terry, and she's just like, come on in, Brent, we'll take care of this problem arm of yours. And I'm thinking, yeah, right. I've been to all these doctors and physical therapists and all these experts, and no one could help me. I had tried, all these different machines and processes. And so we had this discussion, and she explained to me that we were working with the subconscious mind, which was very interesting. She introduced me to muscle testing as a way to kind of check for yourself for subconscious blocks, and asked me a lot of questions. She asked me about things that had happened in my childhood. She asked me about what had happened with my best friend and all the pain I'd been through and all the money I'd lost and all these things. And I admit it was interesting. But I'm thinking, hey, lady, I'm not here to talk about my feelings, right? I'm here because I'm in a lot of pain and I can't move my arm.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I was just there for the free dinner. And so I remember at the end of our session, she kind of rolled her eyes back into her head, went into a trance for a minute. And I'm kind of sitting there looking out the window, thinking about what do I want to get for lunch on the way home, right? And there was this loud crack and pop in my elbow. And it was the most amazing thing. And, it was an audible, like loud crack.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Terry opened her eyes and said, Brent, try your arm. And I did. And I was like, oh my gosh. Though what I actually said was a little more R-rated. So
Gotcha.
we'll just keep it for that in case there's kids,
Okay.
right? But I couldn't believe it. My frozen elbow from the surgery had instantly healed. And what's crazy is she didn't even touch me.
Mm-hmm.
This is all done with the mind. There's no tapping or manual manipulation.
No needles.
No needles, no supplements, no medicine. It was just all done with the mind. And so that was the day that this very skeptical, rational engineer and scientist said, oh my gosh, there's something to this energy healing.
Yeah.
I gotta figure this out.
Mm-hmm. When you felt that pop, did it hurt? Or did it just kind of surprise you?
I would say it's kind of like the pops and cracks we all get in our joints with age.
Oh, yeah.
But like times 10 or 20.
Wow.
So it wasn't painful. It was just surprising. Startling might be the right word. Like someone jumps out and scares you. Yeah. I was like, oh my God, I didn't expect that. But, I want to be honest and clear that for everyone listening, it was not like my whole life got solved in an hour. That was not what happened.
There was still a process.
There was still a long process ahead of me. So all my chronic pain, my depression, the injuries I had, my social anxiety, none of that healed instantly. But my frozen elbow from the surgery did, and never gave me trouble again. And so that was 2003. Wow. And I've been doing this work full time ever since.
That's amazing. I love hearing things like that when people talk about healing like this, and some, just like yourself, they say they've tried everything else, nothing worked, and they thought, okay, last resort, this is crazy, and it worked. Yeah.
And it's funny, I've heard that from a lot of my clients and students. The universe likes to wait until we're right up against the wall, right? When you're out of money, when you're out of hope, when you're out of options. I'm going, couldn't this have happened like a year before?
Yeah.
Like, would that have been the worst thing? But that's how it worked.
Maybe it's the universe's way of getting you to appreciate. You have to go through that suffering first. And then once you have the healing, you're more appreciative of it.
Yeah. And it's, that's a form of the law of exchange for sure. Yeah.
Do you see healing as an energetic, informational, or physical process, or all three?
I see healing very much as software. Because, and now again, I'm biased because that's my background.
Yep.
Right? My background is science engineering, specifically software. Because I wrote video games, which is software. And here's what I learned, that the human being is very much like a computer. And it's so crazy because I remember one of the summers I was in grad school at MIT, which is in Cambridge near Boston. And you get a few of these just brutally hot, humid days, right? Where it's like 95 degrees and 99% humidity at 2 a.m.
Oh.
And so on days like that, me and the other grad students, we'd all bring a pillow in the sleeping bag and we'd sleep in the server room. Because the server room was the only
cooler.
the only space we had access to that was air conditioned 24/7.
Yep.
They
It
only
has
had
to
air
be.
conditioning in the labs from like 9 to 6 Monday to Friday.
Ah,
The
yeah.
rest of the time we just sweated and boiled. But the server room, they kept cool.
Mm-hmm.
So on those hot, brutal summer days, there'd be like, 2 dozen grad students all conked out with sleeping bags in the server room, right?
That must have
And
been quite the sight.
yeah, it was a cool thing.
Yeah.
Literally, right? It was a cool thing. But I remember there was one night I'm sitting there kind of dozing off to sleep, watching the lights flicker on the machines around me. And it struck me, I'm like, wow, people really are just like computers,
Mm-hmm.
where your body is the hardware and your subconscious mind is the software, including the DNA. The DNA is kind of the bridge between them.
Okay.
Because the DNA is both physical and informational at the same time, right? Because if you have a big enough microscope, you can look inside the cell and there's
Mm-hmm.
the DNA, right? But what is DNA? It's computer code. It's a binary code.
Mm.
In fact, Greg Braden wrote a book about this. It's called The God Code.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was crazy. I had that insight years ahead of my experience with healing. But when I started studying with Terry, that's exactly what I learned, is that essentially your body's the hardware, your subconscious is the software.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a program inside of us that runs every aspect of our life. In the same way on your computer, you got a program for your spreadsheet.
I never thought of that.
You got a program to run email, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got a program that plays solitaire, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
So we all have a program in the subconscious that determines how much money you make. We have a program that determines what your physical health is like.
Mm-hmm.
You have a program for your emotional health. You have a program for your social life. You even have a program for your level of intuition. There's even a program for how much free time you have.
Hmm.
And so what I learned was that healing, in one aspect of healing, the way I learned to do it from Terry, was very much like writing computer code. That I was essentially learning to debug people. And the good news is it's much easier to learn to do energy healing than to program an electronic computer.
Really?
Yes,
Hmm.
because there's a gigantic slop factor
Mm-hmm.
that you don't get with computers. Because with a computer, anyone that's ever coded knows one semicolon or bracket in the wrong place, the whole thing blows up.
Yep.
And my online game, it was called Underlight. It was composed of over 100,000 lines of custom code.
Wow. That's
So
impressive.
it's a really difficult thing to write 100,000 lines of code that all works perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, one semicolon in the wrong place, it doesn't run, right? And so what I found was that the reason my elbow froze and I had all these issues was very much I had bugs in my software.
Mm.
It was that simple.
Hmm.
And the way I would put it is that I want to connect this to the body. That what I mentioned was your body is like the computer hardware.
Mm-hmm.
So you got a monitor, you got a keyboard, you got memory and a CPU and a fan and all that, right?
Yep.
So we got a head and a torso and heart and lungs and a liver and all that, right?
Mm.
And what I found was this, and I like to use an old blonde joke as a metaphor. And you may remember this. It was popular in the 1990s. And the joke goes something like this. How do you know when a blonde has been using your computer?
How?
Your marker is covered with whiteout and black marker. So that's pretty funny, right?
That is. Yeah.
Yeah. Why is it funny? Well, we all know that drawing on your monitor isn't going to fix your software, is it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. But that is exactly how we live our lives.
This is true. Yeah.
And so when we think about drawing on the monitor, imagine you're trying to send your friend email and your computer crashes.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to draw the email agent on your monitor with markers so it looks like it's working? No, that's stupid. That's why the joke is funny, right?
Yeah, it is.
If you want your computer to run properly, you got to fix the code.
Mm-hmm.
You put a new program on it or you debug it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, you just download something from the internet.
Yep.
And that's very much how healing works. So if I wanted to play Sudoku on my computer tonight, I could just go to my web browser, type in
Mhm.
play Sudoku, and boom, there I go, right?
Mhm.
And what I found was, I'll give an example. A lot of conventional medicine is drawing on the monitor.
Oh, yeah.
Because, and again, I'm not against doctors. A lot of healers are. I'm not. I think doctors have a really important place.
Yep.
I just think they're trying to solve problems that their tools are not suited to,
Exactly. I
right?
agree.
Especially lifestyle issues.
Mhm.
So, for example, if you fall off your skateboard and break your leg, go to a doctor, please, right?
Yeah.
Don't call me. No, I won't talk to you. I'll say, go to a freaking doctor,
Yeah.
set the bone, cast it, recover, then call me,
Yes.
right? But the trouble is, a lot of modern medicine is not good with so-called lifestyle and chronic issues.
Mhm.
So people with chronic pain, really, all the doctors can do is they'll send you to physical therapy, they'll give you an electric stim to use at home, and if that doesn't work, they give you pain pills. Well, are pain pills actually solving the problem? They're not. They're just covering up a symptom, if that makes sense.
It's like a Band-Aid.
Yeah, it's like a Band-Aid. And I'm not against it. There are times you need the Band-Aid,
Mhm. Oh,
of course,
absolutely.
right?
Mhm.
So that's why I say I'm not against it. It's just, it's not a long-term solution.
Mhm.
It's drawing on the monitor. And there's a similar metaphor for money. Many people think that money is about money. It's not, just so you know.
Mhm.
That trying to get rich by skipping your Starbucks and cutting back on avocado toast probably isn't going to work. Because why? Money is not about money. It's about emotional issues. It's about trauma. It's about relationships. It's about confidence. It's about self-esteem.
Mhm.
I would also say money is not about intelligence, clearly,
Mm.
because if money were about intelligence, I would have been a billionaire by the time I was 30.
Yep.
Because, I used to be really smart, believe it or not. I was a National Merit Scholar in high school. I didn't just go to MIT, I crushed MIT. I had straight A's my entire time there with a whole long list of honors and awards and achievements that would mean nothing to you unless you went there.
Yep.
But my life cratered. And by the time I was 29, I was on lifetime disability, living with my parents with a gigantic credit card debt I had no idea how to pay off.
Yep.
And so, just so you know, I want everyone to know money is not about money. It's about self-esteem. It's about emotions. It's about how you feel. And so, really, what I want to show people is, in the same way, if you want your computer to run differently, you need to install new code, don't you?
Mhm.
You put in an upgrade, right?
Mhm.
You buy new software. Our lives are just the same. If you want to heal your body, maybe you should install some new code, specifically the subconscious. If you want to make more money, if you want to find love, if you want to find a sense of purpose, if you want to learn energy healing, if you want to develop your intuition, maybe you should focus on the code, not drawing on the monitor. Does that make sense?
It does. It's so simple.
Yeah, and I want to call out the DNA connection because I think it's so interesting.
Mhm.
That people will ask me, Brent, okay, this is cool. How does stuff get into the subconscious? Well, the biggest piece of it is your genetics. It's that simple.
Mhm.
Most of your subconscious code comes out of the DNA. You get it from mommy and daddy,
Mhm.
and it's that simple. Now, there are other ways things get into the subconscious, childhood experiences, intense traumas, etc. But the genetics is the biggest piece. And I think it's so interesting because what DNA is like a recipe book. It's essentially a bunch of chemical instructions on how to make proteins, and then how to combine those proteins into tissues.
Mhm.
And if you think about it for a second, it's amazing that we all started as one cell, didn't we?
Yep.
One cell with one copy of DNA,
Mhm.
half from your mom, half from your dad, right? And that one cell had all the information to build you, to build your heart, to build your brain, to build your lungs, your personality. All that code was in one cell.
Mhm.
And so the actual physical DNA that we can look at under a microscope is essentially a big recipe book for building biological material. But what activates it? That is the great question science struggles with. We now call that epigenetics. So genetics is the hardware, right? The chemical composition of the DNA. Epigenetics are the control signals that come from outside the cell that tell it, build this or build that. That's where the subconscious comes in. So the subconscious in the DNA, that's the intersection between the world beyond the veil and the physical world. That, for example, again, we'll just use, let's say you want to play solitaire on your computer. Before you download that program, it's already written, isn't it?
Yes.
You just need to copy it to your computer and execute it.
Yep.
That's exactly how we work. And so the subconscious, it controls how the DNA is used. And there's been some scientists and New Age thinkers that have approached this. Bruce Lipton approached it with the biology of belief. He got one step further. What he said was something outside the cell is telling it what to do. But I'm not sure how that works. Grant McFedridge in his Peak States of Consciousness took it one step further. He actually mapped out where those signals come from. And that is all you need. The takeaway is that's the subconscious. It's just code. Because think about it. Our bodies do all sorts of things without us needing to tell it, doesn't it?
Yeah, like breathing.
Yeah. Heartbeat, digestion, nerve conduction, on and on, right? What's running that process? It's software. It's the subconscious. And here's the crazy thing. I used to think I was so broken I could never be healed. Why? I had spent years going to all these doctors, healers, therapists, right? What I didn't realize was none of them knew how to get to my source code. That's what Terry did for me. She was the first person that said, hey, Brent, the problem is not in your hardware. The problem is in your software. And I want to emphasize that because that's something I really want the listeners to take away. Most of our problems are in our software. And it's no different than your computer. Every computer tech knows this, that 99% of the time when there's something wrong with your computer, it's the software.
Yep.
Hardware problems happen. Of course they do.
Yeah, things wear out.
Right. Things do wear out, but they're rare. Maybe one time out of 100, you have to replace a component. It's almost always the software. And so, for example, if you've had a horrible accident and lost a limb, that's a hardware problem.
Gotcha.
I'm not going to say this is impossible to heal. I'm just saying that's a tough one. I haven't seen it. Not saying it's impossible, right? I've seen so many miracles in my life. I'm very hesitant to use the I word. But someone that's depressed, someone that has chronic pain, someone that has a substance addiction, someone that's lonely, someone that's broke. Almost all of us, our hardware is intact. In other words, the pieces are there, right?
Yep.
You got a head, you got a body, you got arms and legs. What almost always the reason you're broke, the reason you're sick, the reason you're in pain, the reason you're alone, the reason you lack purpose, it's just the software. And I want to empower people to learn how to work with it.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
All this talk of programming brings me back to my high school days when I took computers, when we had TRS-80s at home. And instead of for the computer, instead of writing the exam, I decided to write a program. I can't remember what it was. So, you had BASIC and Fortran way back then.
Yep.
And it was BASIC. And every time I kept finding all these little, like, I had a comma instead of a semicolon or something, like you said earlier, and it's just like the program wasn't perfect. Probably if I had time to work on it, I probably would have been able to perfect it.
Sure.
But it was so frustrating trying to find where that problem was.
It is.
Yep.
And that is exactly what I do in healing sessions. It's very much like debugging software. And so if you came to me with a computer problem, I would ask you, when does the problem occur?
Yep.
How do we reproduce it?
Mhm.
Right? When did it first start? What changes did you make to your computer before this happened? Right?
Mhm.
And a good computer tech could narrow down what the problem is. That's exactly how I do healing. I'll say, hey, what's going on? You say, hey, I have back pain, or I'm alone, or I'm broke, or whatever it is, right? And I'll ask you some questions about it. When did it start? What was it like? What had changed in your life? And by doing that, we can narrow down where's the bug. And once you get the software running, that's why we call it the formula for miracles. And that it can create miraculous results. But again, I want to be honest. Here's the thing about miracles. If you learn how to work with your own subconscious, will you see miracles occur? I would say almost certainly. It's like saying, if you drive your car around a major city, will you get stuck in traffic?
Yeah.
Yes. Right? If you drive more than once, probably, right? Maybe even the first time. So every one of my clients and students that learns and applies this sees changes. But here's the thing. We don't pick the miracles. They pick us. So this is not a magic wand for the ego. You know, if I had that, I would sell them online and make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right? Bang, hit yourself, no more pain. Bang, hit your wallet, it's full of money.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Wouldn't that be nice, right? To my knowledge, there is no such thing.
Yeah.
So this is not a magic wand that makes everything the way you want. What it is, I would say it's kind of like growing plants. That in order to grow a plant, you need water, you need soil, you need sunlight, right? To keep it very simple.
Yeah.
Can you double the amount of all those and make the plant grow twice as fast?
No.
No. Can you get 9 women together and make a baby in a month?
No.
The answer is no.
Yeah.
So really what we're doing is we're not forcing reality like a wizard or a sorcerer would in a movie, right? We are facilitating the conditions for natural healing and growth. And so even if you have the perfect amount of sunlight and water and soil, there's still a timetable to grow the plant, isn't there? That's just how nature works.
Yep.
And working with the healing in the subconscious, again, I'm very proud, I've seen over 2,000 legitimate miracles occur. But it's not all the time, and it's not for everyone. Far more likely, you engage in a process that takes you to where you want to go. And that's what I tell my clients. I'm like, one way to use me, you can use me like a miracle slot machine, right? Just like you go to Vegas, you find a slot machine, you put in your money, you pull the handle. Maybe you win, maybe you lose. Don't know, right? So you can use energy healing that way. You can try a session with 10 different healers, put in your money, pull the handle. Maybe you get lucky, maybe you don't. The trouble is that's not reliable or reproducible, is it? And that drives the scientist nuts. And so what I found is when you learn how to solve the problem at the source, the question is usually not, can I get to my goal? Usually not. The better question is, are you going to give up before you get there? I would say dating is a great example of this. It does seem that there's someone for everyone. You just may have to look really hard to find them.
Yep.
That what I learned, because I've had stints in my life, I've been, married now for a long time with a family, but I was single for a long time before that, believe it or not. I wasn't born married, right?
No.
There were times that felt like I was never going to meet anybody.
Yep.
I went through a stretch after my divorce from my first marriage. I went on 150 dates with almost 100 women over a year. It was nuts. I was on 5 online dating sites and I couldn't find anyone. And I
It's
almost
gonna be
gave up.
draining too.
It was.
Yeah.
And I was about ready to give up. And it was funny, the way I met my wife, true story. I had signed on to Match.com And they had this program where if you didn't meet someone in the first 6 months, they give you another 6 months for free.
Oh,
But there's a catch. You had to contact at least 5 people a month.
there's always a catch.
You had to try, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And at the time, I had started my match subscription, a couple months, didn't meet anybody. I was frustrated. And then I started my late mentor, Carl's intensive life training, and I was really busy with that. So I'm like, you know what? Let's put dating on the back burner.
Mhm.
And so I was just had on my calendar, log in and send 5 emails a month just to get my free time.
Yeah.
I wasn't actually looking to meet anybody, right?
Mhm.
And that's how I met my wife. Yes. My
Well,
first email to her was, "Hey, babe, I think you're too cute for this website. Are you a Russian scammer?" Because again, I wasn't serious about it, right?
yeah.
They didn't care what was in the 5 emails. You just had to see them.
Yeah.
And here's the moral of the story. I was right near at that point of giving up,
Mm.
just like I was with my health, just
Mhm.
like I had been with money. But if you give up when you're one step away, you'll never know how close you were, will you?
Yeah.
If I had not replied back to her, we never would
Mhm.
have met, never would have fallen in love, never would have had a family. That's what I want to emphasize. That so many of us give up right before we're about to break through. And if you can use these tools and really commit yourself to it,
Mhm.
they work. And I found a similar thing with positive thinking. I mentioned I did positive thinking for 6 months and gave up.
Mhm.
I would say that was not the best decision. I should have kept up with it. Why? In my mind, positive thinking is in engineering, we would say necessary but insufficient.
Mhm.
In other words, it's something you need to do. If you don't, you're likely to fail. But just because you have this piece doesn't guarantee success. You might say that to build a car, you need an engine and a transmission and a frame and tires, don't you?
Mhm.
If you're
Sorry.
missing any, yeah, if you're missing any of those, your car does not work.
Mhm.
But just because you go to a junkyard and get those pieces doesn't mean the car runs.
That's a good point.
And that's what I found with things like positive thinking and healing. They all have a place. They're all part of the puzzle.
Hmm.
And again, the biggest, really, the overwhelming reason people fail is they give up only part way. You know, if I had given up after 80 dates with 50 women, I never would have fallen in love.
Mhm.
You know, when I first met Terry, I didn't want to work with her because I had been to healers before. You know, and again, I've nothing against Reiki or EFT or any of that stuff. They're great for a lot of people.
Mhm.
It just didn't do anything for me. I'm like, great, I lay on a table for 30 minutes while they wave their hands over me. I'm
And
bored.
by that time, you're kind of thinking negative thoughts, saying
Exactly.
it's not going to work. Why am I even
Right.
here?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so no surprise it didn't help. Right.
Yeah.
So I would say for everyone, keep at it. And it's funny, if you listen to podcasts about entrepreneurs and business success, they will tell you that exact same lesson. The people that succeed in business are not the smartest necessarily. They're not the richest. They're not the most charismatic necessarily. They don't even have the best connections. The people that have success are willing to fail as many times as they have to get through. That's the common denominator.
And they don't get stuck in their head saying with negative thoughts saying, I why am I doing this?
That's right.
Yeah, get out of your head.
Yes. And
Yeah.
that's why we all need a healer.
Hmm.
We need someone to hold us accountable, to tell the truth to, that's going to help guide us to where we want to go.
Hmm.
And every healer knows, including me, we are all our own worst client. That especially now in the age of social media,
Mm-hmm.
everyone thinks they can do it all on their own. All I need is YouTube and Chat GPT.
I was just, yeah, thinking of that.
Right?
Yep.
I would say go nuts. Waste as many years as you like watching YouTube videos and talking to Chat GPT. You'll learn a lot, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
But in order to really break the breakthrough, it's ultimately, and this is something I saw with my software companies and with healing. It's about getting the right group of people together. It's that simple.
Yep.
You get the right group of people together, you can have success.
Yeah, because they're going to bring you up instead of bringing you down.
Exactly.
They're going to keep pushing you. Let's keep going.
That's right. What I found when I had my software companies, the absolute number one most important thing for the future health and profitability of the company is the people you hire. It's not your technology. It's not your patents. Those matter. Of course they do, right? It's not your offices or your Aeron chairs or your fancy computers. It's the people.
I totally agree.
And that, I didn't like that because I'm a technology person, right? And I say this because I've seen so many people, especially younger people, they don't want to engage the community. I'll learn it all from YouTube. I'll learn it from ChatGPT. Wonderful tools. I spend a lot of my time listening to music on YouTube. I love talking to ChatGPT. Don't get me wrong. But you need the people. And it's so interesting to me. I think you really resonate with this. For a long time, the way I ran my business was I sold people information. Right? And the community was sort of an afterthought. It's like, okay, people that take my class, if you want to come to the practice group, here's when, right? But because the thinking was, if I can just get the right information, then I can heal, then I can make money, then I can find love, whatever it is, right? What I found was it doesn't quite work that way. What I found was the driver of transformation was community plus information. Just the information alone isn't going to do it. To be fair, the community alone may not do it either. The community lacking the information isn't going to work. So, for example, I have 3 cats I love. That's a community, isn't it? Are they going to help me fix it when my Wi-Fi goes down?
No.
No. There's no information there, right?
Yeah.
But the information plus the community, that's the magic. And it's funny that when I was a young man, my real introduction to spirituality was through martial arts, which was so important.
Yes, I was in martial arts too in my 20s. Yeah.
And I said half jokingly for a long time, the most valuable thing I learned at MIT was martial arts. But it's actually somewhat true because it developed my physical intelligence, right? And so what would happen, especially as a young man, a lot of people would say, oh, you're a black belt. I want to kick butt. What style should I learn? Should I learn karate? Should I learn aikido? Should I learn jujitsu?
Depends on the person.
And you got it. And what I learned was this.
Yep.
The answer is don't pick the style, pick the people. And go meet the people, watch a class, and ask yourself, are these the people you want to come and train with 3 times a week for the next 5 years?
Yes.
And if it's yes, learn whatever it is they're teaching.
Yeah, people used to ask me the same question. What kind of martial art should I take? I'm like, it's like a pair of pants. There's so many different types, and every pair of pants is not going to be right for you. You just have to keep trying them until you find the right one for you.
You got to find the one that fits you.
Yeah.
And that's what I would tell people. Don't worry about internal versus external or hard and soft or Japanese or Korean or Chinese. That's not that important. Find the group of people you want to train with. Learn whatever it is they're teaching. That's the fast track to getting really good at martial arts. It's also the fast track to healing your body, the fast track to making money, the fast track to finding love, and all those great things.
I find when getting back to having the right people, you can walk into one business, and as soon as you walk in, you can just feel the heaviness in the air and the tension and negativity, and the business is not thriving. You walk into another business, everyone likes each other because they hire the right people, because people can be trained. You can't train a person to have personality.
That's right.
So if you have the right people together, the businesses thrive. And I've experienced that with jobs myself. It's amazing.
Yeah. And so now what I'm looking for is more so than selling information. I still do that, of course, right? You can go to my website, you can buy products, of course. I'm looking for people that are the right fit for our community.
Yep.
Which is not everybody, of course, right? I'll tell you right now, my community, we're a bunch of head cases, a lot of nerds, right? we're people that are very serious about our spiritual path, but we're caught up in our minds. So, which happens to a lot of people, from childhood trauma, from addiction, from parental abuse. There's all these different situations, and they're very much like me. We are obsessed with the truth. We're more about function than form. So you come to my groups, you won't see anybody wearing beads or crystals. There's no yoga, there's no Buddha statues. There's nothing wrong with any of those things, right? We just practice what works. And some people love to play New Age, and I have no problem with that. I like to go to heavy metal concerts. There's nothing wrong with that, right?
Right.
But I don't expect my metal concerts to make me rich or heal my body. So some people love to play New Age and get expensive yoga pants. Great. If that's how you like to, if that brings you joy, I got no problem with that.
Yeah, fill your boots.
Right. Fill your boots. Go nuts, right? But in my community, we're about finding what works. And so I like to learn from all these different people and run everything through what I call my New Age fluff filter and take out what doesn't work and just focus on what does. It's sort of like, do you know how Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was developed?
No.
It's quite an interesting story because nowadays MMA is very popular.
Yes.
And it all came out of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Ah.
That's where it came from. It was the Gracies. And here's the history is fascinating. The Japanese ambassador to Brazil in the early 20th century taught Jiu-Jitsu to the Brazilians. But then it evolved through decades of street fights. And what came out the other side by the 1970s and 80s was what we call Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. So basically, they had taken away most of the formalities and the cultural aspects that were not important in a match. It was just what worked. And so, again, there's nothing wrong with traditional Jiu-Jitsu. It's just a little different. The Brazilian approach takes out most of the bowing and the ceremony and all that. And it's just, this is how you win a fight. And that's kind of my community. There's nothing wrong with all the rest of it, right? Some of my best friends wear, tons of crystals and flowing robes and sandals and have bead curtains and Buddha statues. That's all great.
Yeah.
But we're about what works. That's why I say we're really about function over form. And it's crazy that in my experience, most of the New Age energy healing communities are about 90% female.
Really?
Yes. I have about 40% men. So it's a much more balanced community because, again, it's a lot of scientists and engineers and managers and corporate people who have more of a linear mindset, who want the results that may not be that interested in the rest of it. And I say that because, again, I'm not going to be the right fit for everybody. Of course not.
Yep.
If you're looking for someone to give you a big hug and say it's all going to be okay, I cost way too much for that. Don't hire me, right? There's plenty of people that can do that for you for free.
Yep.
But if you're serious about diving into your source code, about going deep inside, about seeing what's really going on inside of me and what can I do about it, that's my specialty. And if that's what you're looking for, check it out. The reason I'm here is to spread awareness. To say, hey, there's this other approach you may not have heard of that isn't going to be right for everyone. But, even if there's one person listening that this really resonates with, we have succeeded here.
So
that's how I see it.
What question do you wish more people would ask about healing and consciousness?
I'll tell you the specific question I would love to hear more.
Yes.
People will say, how do I heal my body? How do I make more money? How do I find love? In other words, how do I change this aspect of my life, right? Here's the question I want to hear. What exactly is this me that has health and a body and a life? What is that? Levels of consciousness. And it's funny, if you're ever familiar with Eckhart Tolle.
No.
The Power of Now, of course, right?
Okay.
That was the exact question he asked on the park bench. He was sitting on the park bench and said, what exactly is this me? Because here's the crazy thing. Most of us spend our entire lives thinking we know what we are, but we're wrong. And Eckhart Tolle asked, what is this me exactly that has thoughts and feelings and ideas and memories and takes action? And that's when, poof, he experienced his transcendence. Now, it's not that easy for everybody, right?
He
Just
must
because
have
you
been
sit on
ready.
a park bench and ask that question doesn't mean you become an enlightened master.
Yep.
Worked for Eckhart. Awesome, right?
Mhm.
But if people would ask that, that's great. And you know what my favorite answer is?
What?
I don't know. Why? Let me ask you this. You ever been to the mall and finally you see a parking spot and you pull
Oh,
up and damn, there's a motorcycle there?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right. The
Or one of
motorcycle,
those tiny clown
yeah, or a tiny
cars.
little car, right? So a motorcycle doesn't take up the whole parking slot, does it?
No.
But as long as there's a motorcycle there, you can't fit your car in.
No.
So as long as you're holding on to the old idea of you and God and life, the truth does not fit. So that's one thing I would love people to come in and ask, what am I? I don't know. That's the fast track.
When you have your clients, is it in person, online, or both?
The first 10 years of my business was almost all in person.
Okay.
Ever since COVID, I'm pretty much 100% online.
Okay.
Yep.
That happened to a lot of people
It
since
did.
COVID. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, before COVID, I booked hotel rooms for my seminars and people flew in. Post COVID, we do everything on Zoom. So it's just the way of the world now.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And it doesn't cost anything to fly there.
Right. You don't need a plane ticket. You don't need a hotel room. You don't need a rental car. You don't need to hire a pet sitter or a babysitter, any of that.
You get the code to where you need to go, and
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Interesting. Well, Brent, we're almost at the end. Two things. Is there anything in particular that you would like to tell people? Any special message? And could you please tell the audience where they can find you?
Sure. I think if you're going to take something away, I like to emphasize, just because you don't know how to do something doesn't mean you can't do it. Just means you don't know how right now. And for people that want to learn more, I'm going to offer 2 great resources. If you want to learn more about me, teachings and all that, go to my YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube, type in Brent Michael Phillips. It should come right up.
Okay.
Keep you busy for a while.
Yeah.
If this really resonates with you and you want to go deeper, go to my website at awakeningdynamics.com. And there's, little overview of some of the different programs. One thing I'm going to offer for everybody, for all of your listeners, is, again, if you're serious, if you really think this is right for you, you're willing to spend time and money and work at it, right? Contact me. I'll talk to you for 20 minutes for free.
Nice.
Just to see
Very
if you're a good
generous.
fit.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
That I used to just want to sell everything to everybody. Not anymore.
Yeah,
I only want to offer you things if I'm confident it will make a difference in your life.
And
So
like you said,
again,
got to be a good fit. Yeah.
right. Only if you're serious. Please don't waste your time or mine.
Yeah.
If you're willing to spend time and money and work at this, I will talk to you for free. And I will either give you a recommendation for which of my programs I think works best for you, based on your budget of time and money, intensity, desire, right? Or if you're not, I'll do my best to point you in the right direction.
You don't hear a lot of that from people a lot of times, I
Yeah.
find.
And, the numbers, it's about 50-50. Because my goal is I want people to get to where they want to be.
Yep.
Whether it's me or someone else that helps you get there, that's not as important.
Yep.
Because after all, we're all one, right? Hasn't all of our spiritual teachers across the whole world for thousands of years told us that?
They have, yes.
I think it's about time we start acting like it, don't you?
Agreed, yes.
Yeah. So there you go.
Thank you so very much, Brent. I really enjoyed this conversation.
No, this has been awesome. It's been great to be here.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate your time. We'll talk soon.
Awesome.
A huge thank you to my special guest, Brent Michael Phillips, tonight, and to you, my wonderful audience that I also call my Haunted Hearts, for tuning in. I also want to thank UPRN 107.7 New Orleans, 105.3 the Gulf Coast for carrying the show. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, please like, subscribe, and share, and comment. It truly does mean the world to me. And if you'd like to be on the show, you have guest or topic ideas, or you just want to say hello, drop me an email at paranormalheart13@gmail.com. Until we meet again, take care of yourselves and each other. Much love to you all.